hope y'all are having a blast so far. I hope this weekend is going great. I hope you guys are awake today. I'm sure some of you stayed up way too late last night, having so much fun with all your friends. But I hope it's going well so far, and I'm super excited to talk to you guys today. I wish I could be there in person. My name is Melinda Williams. I live in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is where you guys are right now. Woo! I've been married to my husband David for about 9 years. We have 4 crazy kids at our house. Any other big families out there? Y'all know it is crazy. I feel like I live in a zoo sometimes. I'm sure some of you guys can relate. It is loud. It is wild. There's always a mess somewhere or somebody getting into something or doing something. But we laugh a lot and we have a whole lot of fun, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. Like I said, we live in Northwest Arkansas. We love to be outside. We're super pumped about spring and summer coming. Winter's not really our thing. We love the trails. We love getting out. We love eating ice cream at the Spark Cafe. Going to the dog park. We have a really sweet dog named Willow that we walk and we cuddle with all the time. So anyway, that's a little bit about us. I have 2 girls, 2 boys. James is our oldest. He's 9. Emma is 7. Harper is 6. And then Levi is 8 months old. So like I said, it's a little bit crazy over here, but we have a lot of fun. That's kind of about our family. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that's super close to us, on our hearts, and that is foster care. So I don't know if some of you know what foster care is. Maybe you've heard of it before, but you're really not sure. So today we're going to kind of dive into it. I'm going to tell you guys like what it is, and then kind of our story of how our family came together, and then maybe some things that you could do, that you could be a part of this ministry and a way to really love on people that might need it. So let's kind of talk about what it is. So let's talk about moms and dads. So moms and dads have some pretty cool jobs to raise really awesome kids. But basic kind of jobs that moms and dads have. Well, a big one is to make sure your kids are safe, right? To make sure you're in a safe household, that they're safe people, that they're not getting into anything that's unsafe. Another thing is to make sure your kids are healthy, to make sure they're clean, that you live in a clean place. They're able to take baths and showers. If they need medicine, they can get medicine. Also just to provide just their needs, to make sure they have food to eat, a place to sleep, shelter, clothes, things like that. Those are main jobs of parents in order to be able to provide and take care of their kids and their family, right? So sometimes moms and dads can't do those jobs. They might need help, or they might be going through a really hard time for some reason, and they're not able to take care of their children the way they need to. So that can be for a ton of different reasons, and I'll name a few, but it can be a ton. It could be maybe there was a death in the family. Maybe a parent passed away, or maybe somebody got really sick. Maybe they're really sick and they're unable to take care of their kids right then. Maybe somebody lost a job or can't find work and they're having a hard time paying the bills or being able to feed their kids. It could be sad choices that the parents have made. Maybe some wrong decisions or some bad moves that they made, and maybe they're having to deal with some consequences to that, or it's just something they just can't seem to get out of their own. They're just keep making these bad choices that affect their family. It could be just it's an unsafe or unclean house. Maybe there's someone in the household that's just not a safe person, and the children can't stay there while that person's there because they're not able to be safe. So there can be a ton of different reasons. But when something like this happens, and a child is unsafe or not being able to be taken care of the way they should be, sometimes they have to go into foster care. And so what that means is usually someone would come, a caseworker would come and would find a family for the child to stay with while their parents or their family member that takes care of them is able to get some help with some things, or to get in a better situation to where they can be safe, or they can just be able to provide for them better, get well, or just fix some maybe problems that are going on inside of their home and their family. So meanwhile, the child would go and would stay with the family that would make sure that he or she is safe and that they're cared for, that they have everything that they need, and someone to really just wrap around and support them, because it's a really hard time. Can you imagine if you were taken from your mama or your daddy, and how scary that would be? You didn't know when you were going to see them again, or if they were okay, or really understand what was going on. That would be so scary. And so a lot of times kids in foster care are sad. They're sad, they're scared, they might be really mad, they might be frustrated, they might not understand what's happening. It's a lot of unknowns, so it's a really scary place to be in. Sometimes they're able to go into a foster family with, they have brothers or sisters, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they end up in different homes, and that can be really, really hard as well. So foster families are so important. They're so important because they're wrapping around a kid during a really, really hard time, a really just chaotic time in their lives. So it's really, really important that this family loves this child well, that everyone can just be super supportive. Even though it might be tough, it's a great way to serve the kid, but also serve the kid's family and parents that are going through a really hard time too. So most of the time, these kids go live with a foster family for a while. Sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's weeks, months, sometimes it's even longer. It just kind of depends on what the situation is. So most of the time, 80% of the time, these kids will go live in a different home, a safe place, while their family gets the help that they need. And then they are able to go back home to their family, and they're able to move forward, and they're in a healthier place. And it's a great thing. That's the goal of foster care. It's called reunification. It's just a fancy word for the child being able to go back to a family member, to be able to live and be raised and move forward, which is what we want. That's what we're cheering for. We want these families to stay together. Brokenness is not the goal, and families shouldn't break. But there's some hard things in this world. There's trauma, and there's brokenness. And so, I feel like God is such a restorer. We've seen that in our family, and we've seen that throughout our journey with foster care. But anyway, I truly think He desires for these families to stay together if possible. And so that's our goal. Now, 80% of the time, that's what happens, which is great. About 15% of the time, maybe the families aren't able to get the help that they need, or to do the things that they need to do to make their home safer for their kids. So when that happens, after a certain amount of time, if they're not able to do those things, the children may be able to be adopted by a family that would be their forever family. So sometimes it is the foster family they've been living with. Sometimes it might be a different family. It just kind of depends on the situation. But in that case, it would be a fresh start and a new family, a place where hopefully God can heal some brokenness and some hearts, and they're able to move forward in a healthy place with people that love them and can take care of them the way they need to be taken care of. So That's about 15% of the time. Now the other 5% of kids, they might not get adopted, or they might be close to maybe turning 18, and they age out of the system, which means once they turn 18, usually kind of means they're on their own, which can be a really scary and sad place to be, being that young and kind of being on your own, not having a place to come for holidays, or a mom or dad to call if you run into trouble, or you have a problem, or you just need someone or a support system. So that can be really hard too. So that's about 5% of kids that come into care. So let me tell you a little bit about my story, our family story, and how our family was formed, and our journey in foster care. Like I said, I'm a physical therapist. I worked for a pediatric clinic. I worked with kids for about 5 years before I became a stay-at-home mama. And during that time, some kids that if they were staying at the children's shelter, if they needed therapy, they would come to our clinic for therapy. So I had never really thought about foster care before. I didn't know a lot about it. It's just something that really wasn't in the forefront of my mind or my heart. I had heard there was a need in Northwest Arkansas, but you know, if something is just not really in front of your face, sometimes it's easy just to forget about it, or turn on your blinders and just kind of continue forward with life. So that's kind of where I was. It wasn't really on my or my husband's radar. We'd been married about 3 years at the time. So these kids start coming, you know, from the shelter, and I'm starting to work with some of them. I'm starting to know their names and their sweet little faces. They're coming in, and I'm giving them high fives and hugs when they leave. And not only that, but I'm hearing their stories. I'm hearing about a lot of hard things that they're going through, and things that they've had to go through, that kids shouldn't have to go through, you know. And it starts to stir in my heart. The Lord started stirring my heart and breaking my heart for these sweet little faces that I was growing to love. And so I came home and I discussed kind of this with David, and we kind of started to pray about what the Lord would have us do with this, what kind of the stirring was, and just feeling kind of broken about the situations that I was hearing about. And we started looking around, and when you know it, we had 2 extra bedrooms in our house. Who knew? 2 extra bedrooms, y'all. And so far, I mean, we were just kind of your typical married couple. We had good jobs, we had graduated college, and we had a sweet little dog, and we'd go hiking on the weekends, and we were just having a good time. But the Lord just kind of started calling us into something a little deeper, something that was uncomfortable, something that was scary. Something that we didn't really feel equipped to do, honestly. But we felt sure that that's what we were supposed to do. We're supposed to move forward. So we decided to be obedient to that, even though it seemed a little scary. We were kind of nervous about what other people would think. I mean, we weren't parents. We didn't know what we were doing. But isn't that funny? I feel like the Lord calls the least likely people to do things so he can show his glory. It's only him, because it is not on me, you know, and everyone could know that. So we decided to go ahead and get trained. We trained through The Call, which is like an awesome nonprofit here in Northwest Arkansas. It supports and trains foster families throughout their whole journey. So we got trained. We became an open foster home. And within 3 months of having an open home, guess how many kids we had? Not 1, not 2, 3. Yes, we are crazy people. We had 3 children in our home. Guess how old they were? 1, 2, and 3. It was wild. It was crazy. Yes, so we had 3 kids, 3 and under. Let me just tell you, well, you probably wish you could have been a fly on the wall because it was wild. It was wild. It was hard. It was real hard. There were some days I looked at David and I thought, I can't do this. This is too much. This is too hard. I mean, these kids have been through too much. I'm not equipped to handle these things. I'm not equipped to handle their hearts and their brokenness. And you know what? I wasn't. But you know who was? God. God was. He was faithful, and he is faithful, y'all. In all the hard things, not just this, all the hard things. And you know what? He didn't bring us to the hard to leave us. He was with us every step of the way. And whenever we felt like we couldn't do anymore, we didn't have enough strength, enough grace, enough patience, when our selfishness came out and all these ugly things that were in our heart, he sustained us. He sustained us. He brought us into a relationship closer with him. It was so hard, but it was so good. So it was such a great opportunity for us to love on these kids, but also love on their mama and daddy. Because let me tell you, the kids are not the only ones going through the hard time. Can you imagine being a mama or a daddy and not knowing where your kids are, or knowing they're living with strangers and not knowing who these people are, if they're okay? That's hard stuff. And so we were able to come into a relationship with their mama and daddy who were going through a hard time themselves and say, hey, we got it. We got them. It's okay. You don't have to worry about them. You go worry about getting things better and getting healthier and fixing whatever's going on. And we're on your team. We're with you. We're cheering you on. We want your family to be together and be restored. And we want to be a part of this. So that was just such a great opportunity, and it was so amazing to see kind of what the Lord did with everybody's hearts in that situation, and being unified, and all those things. So will I say that this story was all rainbows and butterflies? No, girls. It was not. It was not. It was a roller coaster. It was crazy. There were ups, there were downs, there were twists, there were turns. So many unknowns happened. And let me tell you, it was a 2-year thing. It was off and on. Our kiddos, our parents ended up doing really well for a while. Our 3 kiddos were able to actually be reunified, to go back home for a little bit. Meanwhile, we had some other little girls stay with us for about 7 months. But our kids came back into care. They came back into care. Things started maybe not going so great at home again. It wasn't safe again. So they had to come back into care. And eventually they all ended up back with us, which we were so thankful for. Some hard things happened. Their first mama and daddy started not doing so great again, and they weren't able to do the things they need to do to make a safe and healthy home for them. So at that time, we were asked if we would like to adopt them. And let me tell you, that wasn't in the plans. We weren't planning on that. It was scary, and it was another unknown, and it was another step. The Lord was leading us to go deeper, to trust more. And so we did. And let me tell you, it was the hardest and the best yes we've ever said. We love our family. We love our kiddos. And we are so thankful that God saw fit to call us into this calling. Because we have our family because of it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. We've got hard days. We're by far not perfect and wild and crazy, but y'all, we love each other, and we've been able to see God restore so much brokenness. Because there's broken hearts when families break. There's broken hearts, and there's things that I as a mama can't fix. I can't fix it. And there's things my husband, as a daddy, he can't fix either. So you know who can fix these things, who we rely on, is God. We trust him, and I pray all the time that he just fills in the gaps I don't even know are there in their little hearts, the gaps that I can't fix just because I'm not a savior, and I'm not. He is. That's why we need him. So anyway, that's a little bit of our story, how we became a family. It's been a beautiful picture of just God's redemption, and how his plans are way better than ours. Because if you would have told me that this would be the road we would end up on, or this is how our family would be formed, I wouldn't have believed you several years ago. But here we are, and it's amazing. So anyway, that's a bit of our story and how our family formed. But now I just want to talk to you guys about what you might be able to do, how you might be able to step into this. Now, I'm not saying to run home and tell your parents to become a foster family. You totally can. Obviously, that's totally up to them. But there are so many things you girls can do. And I'm sure y'all are so creative. So these ideas you can probably run with and come up with way better ones. But a lot of kids, when they come into care, they don't have time to go grab their things. Sometimes they come into these new families with nothing. So they need shoes and clothes and maybe a stuffed animal for comfort because it's scary, or a blanket, maybe a treat or some games or toys that they might like. Things like that. Maybe like a welcome basket that you could give a foster family for maybe somebody that new that's coming into their home, to make them feel a little bit less scared and more welcome. Bringing foster families a meal is huge. Gift cards. Hello, Chick-fil-A. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. Come on. What else could you do? Let's see. Be a friend, y'all. If you know anybody in foster care, or maybe just anybody that's having a hard time, be a friend, be a listening ear, or just hang out. I can't imagine just how scary. I mean, they are so brave. They have to be brave warriors, and they didn't ask for this to happen. It's just, it's things that are out of their control, and that is just so hard. So if you know somebody that is in care, or maybe it's just going through a hard time at home, be a friend, a real friend. One that listens, one that serves, sacrificially gives and serves. That's how we show the love of Christ to each other. So anyway, I hear y'all are making bags this weekend, which is amazing too. That's going to be so helpful and so sweet for someone going through that. So anyway, girls, I just want to challenge you to pray what the Lord might have you do. And maybe it does have to do with foster care. Maybe it's something completely different. But where is he asking you to step and to move a little bit deeper into a relationship with him? Something that might be scary, but I'm telling you, obedience is sometimes the hardest and the best, yes. So I just want to encourage you in that. God loves you. He chooses you. He sees you, girls. He sees you. Y'all are special, and y'all are worthy. And I just hope y'all are blessed this weekend. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope y'all have a great rest of the weekend. Okay,